So most of the startups, what they do is that they design the perfect shoe and then look for the people who would actually fit the perfect shoe. We tried to fit the lady who would be able to fit our perfect shoe and then decide what the shoe is going to look like. Hello there. Sorry for my somewhat childish, feminine pictures. But hey, I'm a girl and I'm going to show you I'm a girl. My name is Nikky, I'm 29 years old, born and raised in Amsterdam, and I'm product owner for the personal newsletter tool Revue. And I always hope that there's someone inside of the crowd who knows Revue. So is there anybody who actually knows? Ooh, wow, okay. Oh, I was not prepared for that. Well, welcome y'all. Yeah, so I'm not going to talk to you about another acquisition hack, but I'm going to talk to you about more product-driven growth and how talking to customers actually helped me in that. So it will be more of a personal story. Yeah, so I would like to start with a few years ago where I was part of an accelerator program at Sanoma, which is a media company. And I joined the accelerator and I had a very good idea, I thought. And my idea was, there are some ladies in the room, so you might recognize it. Sometimes when I watch television, I would like to see and like to know where the clothes are from that the lady is wearing. I don't know, see you smiling. It's like this weird thing that we have, girls, that we want to buy whatever we see. So I pitched it to Sanoma and they were very enthusiastic. They gave me budget. And I ended up becoming a venture leader or whatever, a startup owner within a big company. So it was quite interesting construction. There was something that I forgot, and that was actually listening to people. So I did talk to girls, actually. I talked with a lot of girls, and I would ask them amazing questions that would all validate my idea, because you can do that, actually. So I ended up building something that basically people use once a year. So we built a user-generated platform where you could paste products that you would like to have and other people would help you find it. And once a year somebody would use it, so that was not a very stable business model. Yeah, and why was that? Because I was actually not really listening to people. I was more just building something that I thought I should have to build. Why? Because I was 23 years old and I wanted to show that I had a great idea and I wanted to show that I was able to lead a business. So yeah, everybody who was saying something else I wasn't listening to, which I see at 75% of the startups around me, but hey, that's something different. So what did we do? We went back to the drawing table after half a year. And we went through all the interviews. And what was very interesting was that girls had the problem, but once a year. So it would be nice to find something that they had more times a year. So we went back to the drawing table. What we found was that girls actually were not making pictures of things they would like to have. And they didn't know where to buy, but that they were making screenshots of web shops. So we had, again, a lot of interviews with people, and what they said was that I'm really nervous, you notice, right? I'm so sorry. I'm really nervous. I'm not a talker kind of girl. Okay, let me start over. So, I screw up, and what happened was that all these girls were actually making pictures of stuff they had seen in web shops, which is interesting. So we had a lot of interviews again, and all these girls said, so what they do, they go to Zalando, we all know Zalando, right? Then they go to New In, what's the newest stuff that's going in? Okay, then what? Then they open different tabs, and then they save it all to a Word document, Excel document. I've heard people emailing stuff to each other, favorites, well, they all do that, which is quite horrible. So we tried to develop something that solved that, and that became Swipe and Shop. And Swipe and Shop was, as David once said, crack cocaine for girls. I would not recommend you to name it like that. But yeah, it basically was. We ended up having around 300,000 girls using the app. And the thing was that they were using it more than 6 times a day. Yeah, which is quite addictive. And they would swipe around thousands of products every week, which was quite heavy on our server on one hand, but also quite cool because we had a lot of interactions with them. Yeah, so basically this whole pivot from building something that I thought that was very interesting into building something that actually was very interesting is very basic for me, and I always try to tell it at talks like this. It really inspired me to keep my customers close and to, for example, every week we had 2 girls coming over to the office, whom we would discuss, for example, designs, examples. I would ask them to pitch Swipe and Shop to me, so I could put that in Facebook ads, and we ended up optimizing the Facebook ad until 4 cents a download, just by using what girls used to pitch each other in our ads. So that was actually quite a good way to use their text for our ads. Yeah, so we were able to find a more frequent pain by going from spotting once a year to swiping several times a day. Yeah. So now, where I am now, I'm now actually working for Revue. Revue, I hear it all. Yeah, we're not very a good name caller. So what we do is we're a personal newsletter tool. And we're not, I hear a lot of people saying, newsletters, oh, that's spam, right? How many people of you receive newsletters of actual people that actually add value? I know you, oh, that's, okay. Oh, very nice. So that's actually what we do. So we try to build a tool that helps thought leaders, journalists, to talk to their audience in a more intimate way, because email, come on, it's old-fashioned, but you have an average open rate of around 30 to 60%. You actually reach your users, while Facebook only reaches 10% maybe now. Twitter goes away in an hour. So it's actually a good way to reach your users. So how did we start? Well, I find this a really interesting story. Mostly because we launched on Product Hunt, as Suzanne said. So what happened was that 2 years ago, Martijn de Kuiper, who is the CEO of Revue, he had an idea. He was following Benedict Evans on Twitter, and he noticed that with the time difference between Holland and the USA, he missed quite a lot of tweets and quite a lot of articles that he found very interesting. And he subscribed for his newsletter, but he felt that the newsletter was so optimized and so difficult, like design-wise, that he felt that he could make a tool just for people who wanted to do that. And that's like a design sketch he did. I think this was even sort of a prototype and a video of how it would work. And after a few hours, we had 2,000 users using Revue. And the only downside of Product Hunt is that it's all high-profile people. So we had 2,000 high-profile people using us, which also puts some pressure on the team, which is good, of course. So he was all by himself. So the first step was let's hire someone who can actually build this, and that's when Mo came along. I joined, I think, 3/4 of a year ago, and Vesi and Mark also joined the team. So we're a team of 5. Currently, we have around 30,000 people using Revue. And we send out around 3 million emails a month, which we're very proud of. I wanted to say something more. We have customers, like 80% of our customers are from the USA, still because of the Product Hunt launch. So it's the reason why I asked you guys, do you have newsletters that you follow with just purely content? Is because we feel that in the Netherlands, we're not really used to this type of communication yet. For example, if you speak to American people, everybody knows newsletters. Every big journalist has his own newsletter. Then you go to the Netherlands, and then a journalist says, she literally said that to me. I will not tell you who it was. Yeah, but what do I have to say? Like, you're a journalist, you write, you tweet, you have 5,000 followers, you have a lot to say. But yeah, so who do we have on the platform? On the left, we have Ryan Hoover, who is the CEO of the founder of Product Hunt. On the right, I put a Dutch example, also a little bit of USA-ish. It's Trump Daily. It's the correspondent in the USA for the NOS. And he writes every single day what's happening in America. And yeah, it gives you pain in the stomach sometimes in the morning, but it also gives you some laughter. Then we have another one that I wanted to share with you. This one is MJ Siegler. He's an investor. He's a partner of Google Ventures. And on the left, we have our very own Ernst-Jan Fout, who sends out a media newsletter, which I would highly recommend you, as you're all tech people, to subscribe to. It's really interesting. So yeah, so that's what we do. Then why do I show you a slide with Cinderella? So most of the startups, what they do is that they design the perfect shoe and then look for the people who would actually fit the perfect shoe. So we try to do it the other way around. We don't design the perfect shoe. We try to fit the lady who would be able to fit our perfect shoe and then decide what the shoe is going to look like. And that's quite crucial for our culture, I think. So we really want to have a very clear understanding of who we are building Revue for, and then we decide what it's going to look like and what the features will be. So, yeah, it's not me, by the way. I've never fell. So it's very important when we build it is to understand who was our perfect customer and who is the early adopter. I once saw this picture, and I really like the story behind it, because they say that an early adopter is somebody who's like somebody who fell off his bike. It's not everybody who drives a bike, because I don't fall from my bike, but it's like the person who falls off his bike, breaks his arm, and will do anything to cure the pain. That's the early adopter, and that's the person that we are designing Revue for. Which for us, you might think, well, why is it interesting? It is very interesting, because if we would listen to every single person that joins Revue, we would probably become a second MailChimp. You're all aware of what MailChimp is, right? We would become the most pixel-perfect newsletter tool ever. But what we do is we try to make sure that people like you guys, who don't have a lot of time, in 10 minutes can create a newsletter on the go and drop it out, and it looks good. So you make sure there's content, we make sure it looks good. So yeah, so as we have grown quite quickly, when I joined, it was very important for me to understand who was the core user of Revue. So what I did is that I interviewed 50 people who were part of Revue, all different kinds of people, female, male, young, old, in tech, in real estate, just to understand who they were, what did they have in common, what were their goals, what did they want to do with Revue, what were the features that they were, what were the goals that they had, what were the problems that Revue was solving, just to give a very clear overview of what the product was actually solving. And one of the things that we found there, which I find very interesting, is that with all the feedback that we received in emails and in other messaging apps and stuff that we had on the platform, nobody actually ever told us how important it was for them to get feedback. So when I was interviewing these people, I think 40 out of 50 people said that just receiving an email back from a follower made them so happy. And that was for us like a moment that we thought, we have to do something with us. We can fixate or have our KPIs on subscribers and stuff, but having human interaction is maybe something more important. So we started building a feedback tool, which is called Revue Reaction. It's a very good name. So what happens is that on the bottom of every single newsletter, you can give feedback, tell what article you liked, if the other newsletter was better than the newsletter before, why. Maybe some people also suggest articles like, hey, you're talking about this subject, have you thought about, or did you already read this article? So it's a way to have interactions, which is very interesting, because after launching this, I talked with a few users and they had 3 to 4 times more responses on their newsletter, which is, if you have a base of 5,000 people, quite a lot. So that's pretty cool. Also, for example, the Trump Daily guy, he receives now 100 to 200 emails every single time that he sends out a newsletter. that's pretty cool. It's quite some. So another thing that I found purely by talking to customers was how important it was to grow their subscriber list. And this was a difficult thing because how are you going to solve this? So we started with a side project. I have to say side project marketing now from David, because that's what it's called. So we started with Discover, mainly because, well, you all are subscribed to newsletters, but you might be interested in finding more, or where do you actually find those, or how do I know whether somebody has an interesting newsletter? So we launched this Discover platform where you can find every single personal newsletter that we would recommend. So it's not all, but it's the best of the best. Yeah, Sujan is not in there, but we will add you later. No problem. Once you move to Revue. What was I saying? Yeah, which was very nice because we got quite some coverage in the media. That's always nice. But also we were able to get in contact with the people who were already sending out a newsletter, but were not using our tool. So it's like the interviewing that, I don't remember who said it, but it was somebody who said in an earlier talk, it's like interviewing your prospects already, which really works for us. There are some people who actually moved to our platform just because of the side project. And the other reason why we did it is that if you are interested in personal newsletters, we are the first person or the first tool that you will encounter if you land on Discover. And it's going quite well, actually. What I forgot to tell you is that from the 25,000 users that we currently have, we grow virally. Around 25% of new users every month come from the product. And how they come is mainly because of our referral system. So we try to create real advocates, and we keep very close contact with them. So they use our referral system, or because of just the 3 million emails that are being sent out every month with our logo underneath. That works quite well, actually. There are a lot of people that said that there are some companies that it doesn't really work for, but for us, this is, I think it's 15% of our new clients come because of the logos underneath the newsletter, which is quite nice for us. Yeah, so let me see where I was. So how do we keep contact with our users? So I said that at Swipe and Shop, for example, I would invite them to the office, but as 80% of our users are not European, but 1 in a different time zone and 2 in the USA, I would love to visit them, but it's more difficult. So we use other tools for that I'm going to share with you. I hope you don't know them yet. So one of the tools that we use is Lookback. And Lookback is a quite cool tool because you can have interviews with people. You can tape it. I can take like the most important stuff out of the interview, put it into Slack, so that not my whole team needs to watch the interview, but just the crucial things I can immediately send to them. Also, you can do like testing, but I don't know how you call that, but you can test it. I can send you a link. You can test it, and I can see what you're actually doing. So it's quite a nice tool. Another thing that Revue actually already used that I love is Intercom. I don't know how many people already use Intercom. Okay, not too many. I'm really excited about the tool. One, because you can send messages like based on data points. So if somebody does this, then make sure to send them either a message or an email. And another reason why I'm very enthusiastic about this is because it is a contact point for customers. So the moment that customers get lost, they see my head, or Martijn's head in this case, popping up, and they can leave us a message. And this is like a starting point for us to talk either to unhappy customers or really happy customers, or customers who have an idea. Or and one of the things that we found out was that because in Intercom we got so many feature messages, like, hey, we want to have that feature, hey, can you please use that, that we started a Google Doc with all the ideas and then ranked it. And that was horrible. So we decided to open up the roadmap and to send everybody to the roadmap and say, hey, just post your feature idea here, vote if it's already there. And so once we start building or we redesign the roadmap, this is one of the things that I return to see what was actually something that people were asking for. I really like, this is one of the first moments that it was launched. It's quite you'll see a different one if you log in now. But if you see the work on multiple issues at the same time, it has like 25 votes. Our CEO our developer got so enthusiastic about that the night he built it, and then the next morning he launched it. So it was pretty cool to tell the customers like, okay, he got so excited, he decided to build it for you, there it is. And the other thing that we have is a user channel, and what we try to do is that we keep few users. We try to refresh it also, so not talk to the same users every single time, but talk with them about designs. If I have a specific question, like if they have some problems that they ran into, how are they solving it now? How could we solve it? Like more like idea bumping. I can put it into the user channel, and it's not the best setup, the customer feedback setup, but for us it really works. So if you have other tools that you're using, please let me know, because I would really like to know. What I also forgot to say was, what was also very interesting with the features was that a lot of people were asking about growing their subscriber list, right? So what we did was that we decided to use another person's platform, which was Zapier. So we decided to integrate with Zapier. And then we tried to look which of the other parties they were actually connecting with. So once they send out their newsletter, they connected to Zapier, and some would send out to Facebook, some would send out to Twitter, some would send out to Medium. And then we decided to integrate like the best ones into our platform to make sure that we didn't build things that nobody was wanting, but yeah, we're kind of using whatever was there. Yeah. So one of the things that I hear a lot when I tell people that I actually am in contact quite a lot with users is this quote. I think you've all seen it, right? No? Oh, okay. Well, it always makes me very angry because, first of all, he didn't say that, but that's something else. But second of all, you should never ask. It's the one thing that I want to give you is never ask a user what he wants. Always try to understand what he's trying to do. So, for example, if the person who heard this quote would have responded with why, for example, then maybe Henry Ford the person would have said, well, because it's not going fast enough. Well, then it's our job to make sure that we build something faster. So make sure if people ask you for new features, always ask them, why do you want it? To understand what job are they trying to get done, because they're not designers, they're not product developers, that's our job. It's our job to learn and to understand and then design something that's perfect. So I really like this example. It's Intercom and Slack discussing. So it's the guy from Intercom says, hey, I want a Google Calendar Slack connection. And then the guy from Slack said, hey, we would definitely like to make it better to know when somebody is unavailable and why, because that's the job that he's trying to get done. And then immediately the guy from Intercom says, yes, that's exactly the use case. Thank you. So keep that in mind. And then, yeah, keep in mind, every customer has a problem, every problem has a solution, and not every solution has a problem. Not every problem has a customer. Oh yeah, last one. I would invite you all, if you would like to become a thought leader, if you want to have like a newsletter for yourself, internally, whatever, try it out. If you use the code gift from Nikky, you get 1 month free. And if you would like to know more about personal newsletters, and if I wasn't as if I didn't manage to get you to start your own newsletter, then check the bit.ly, because there's like 5, 6, 7, I think it's even 10 pages of why you should actually start a personal newsletter.